Hi guys, before you get into the next amazing conversation with another amazing guest, I just wanted to tell you I have now moved over to Substack. So it's the Never Settle Podcast.substack.com. The reason I've done that is because of the increase in censorship I am finding on YouTube, and I'm worried that maybe one day they're going to deplatform me. So please head over to Substack and subscribe. I'm very new into it. It's growing. There will be a lot more content on there going forwards and hope to see you over there. Well, hello, lovely listeners, and welcome, viewers. Today, I think you can already see it is the bowler hat farmer. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Morning, darling.
Good. So Mark is back from his whirlwind tour over the last 7 months. Bless him, he's knackered. Um, but he's also got some exciting news about a project that he wants to share as well. So welcome, Mark. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, darling. How are you keeping?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I've had some challenging times as we've just been sharing offline, but I have every faith that light is shining through and all will be well. So, but thank you for asking.
You have to remember that adversity equals opportunity.
Definitely.
And with all of these things, we just have to ride the storm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
There's a lot of stuff going on for a lot of people, as you know as well as
yeah,
I do at the
yeah,
moment. So the intensity is I don't know, it's like a stranglehold, but it can only go so far until it goes. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So okay, well, over to you, my love. So this whirlwind tour that you've done, um, what was the purpose of it all, and
um,
and did you get did you succeed in your objectives?
okay. There's different levels of insanity, Mel. Um, and I'm a great believer. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, and that is insanity. So after 40 plus years in the fruit trade, started on the market at 14 when I was, a youngster. So after 43 years in the fruit trade and after, 52 years in the farming side since I was allowed on the family farm at 5, um, you kind of then get to the point where you go, this is all bollocks and something's changed in the food supply chain.
Yeah.
And it hasn't changed for the better. Um, we are in my opinion, a very vulnerable position within the UK. I know these challenges are going on worldwide at the minute, but I always think that we're very vulnerable because of our island status, despite the fact that other people might visit whenever they want. We think about that, 22 miles of water is a big distance. Um, excuse me. So I thought to myself, well, if all these things are changing, it makes sense for going to tell people what's actually going on. And I'd been doing a bit on YouTube and I'd been doing a few talks and so forth and thought, okay, well, what are the options here? So I stupidly, and I do say stupidly now after 7 months on the road, posted on Facebook, I'm going to do a tour. If anybody'd like me to come and speak, let me know. The phone didn't stop ringing, Mel. So we travelled the UK. We did Land's End to John O'Groats. We did 10,000 miles. We did, and people will say that's not 10,000 miles from Land's End to John O'Groats. It is when it's like a bit of spaghetti. You just keep going around in circles.
Wow.
We did 109 speeches and spoke in front of 20,000 people and met a considerably large amount of lovely people like yourself while we were away. So, in answer to the question, was it worth it? 100%. And I think, Mel, I set off with the intention to try and assist the public to understand what farmers are going through and to try and assist the farmers to find out what the public really wants from them. So everyone says, well, I want to support British farmers, but most of the farmers we visited across the UK grow wheat, barley, sugar beet, oat, maize, and rape.
Mm.
Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how often you want a 20-ton lorry to rock up outside your house with any one of those items.
No.
So getting the farmers to understand what the public want. So one of the things we did at every meeting, and you probably saw this when we was up at WTF, asked the one question: would anybody in the room like to buy chemical-free food direct from a farmer or indirectly? And everyone puts their hand up. Okay, so we got proof of 20,000 people with a hand in their air. And every time we took one of those pictures, I sent it onto YouTube and WhatsApp and everything else, and all the Facebook groups and everything we belong to express to farmers, look, people want to support you, but you're not giving them what they want to be supported with. So that was an interesting learning curve for the farmers. You know, after I posted it about for the first week, people were like, so what, Mark? No one cares what the public really think. And then we only got about a month in, and people saying, where are you going next? Where are you speaking next, Mark? So that really quickly started to shift. So as a result, we have now ended up that we've had the chance to meet literally hundreds of farmers, go to butchers, bakers, greengrocers,
makers,
candlestick makers. We did go to two of them actually. And fishmongers and different people all around the country. We met with trawlermen, we met with big landowners who are setting up community projects. You name it, we went and looked at it. And within all of it, Mel, it was really to get the people to understand what's out there. And it's all good and well people go, oh, I can't go to a farm shop, there isn't one near me. But as we travelled about the country, we actually started to realise just how many of them there was. And not just farm shops. Within the new system, because this is where it's led me to, Mel, I think we need a new food system. And partly new, partly old. And when I say old, not as in supermarket supply, pre-supermarket, old school. Because that worked for millions of years, or however long we believe the timeline was. It worked. So why in the last 50 to 100 years have we changed it all? So we haven't changed it for the benefit of the public, because the public aren't getting as good a product as they were. And we haven't changed it for the benefit of the farmers, because the farmers aren't being paid what they were. So it hasn't changed for the benefit of us. It's only changed for the benefit of big corporations. So the tour has taught me this much. The people want change. And actually talking to the farmers, Mel, after we, got through to them where the challenge sits in this industry with supplying direct to the public, is the fact that they need to produce something they can sell to the public. Farmers want to make that transition. That is my overall outcome of this tool. However, the problem we have at the minute is the funding that they need to swap from where they are commercially farming on big scale and producing, let's say, 2 or 3 crops on a farm, to needing to produce 100 crops, have animals back on the farm, on all of those things, what they need to put in place, like extra irrigation and polytunnels and greenhouses and fences and gates and all the infrastructure what's needed. They haven't got the money to do it. No. So that money should traditionally come from DEFRA, which is the governmental organisation that's in charge of looking after farmers and fisheries. However, they're not doing it. Why are they not doing it? Because they're so wrapped up in net zero. They are so wrapped up in the fact that we've got too much carbon on the planet and cows are an issue, and, all the money should be going to get rid of animals and plant more trees and all of the things which they think are correct for us to look after the environment. So as a result of that, we then have that standoff. So I come up with an idea, as mad as it is, that I want to set up a new food system, Mel. And when I say me, on this journey, I've met hundreds of people just like me that want and see the requirement for a new food system, but don't know what they can do. Like, when I left home, it was all the doom and gloom of the tour. No farmers, no food, farmers to action, we're not got any food, And then as it was going around, we were starting to see all these brilliant projects popping up on farms where they're having to change things to survive. And it was like, oh my God, they're doing great things. And we'd go to another farm and they were doing something great. It's like all these farmers were making this transition, but not at pace. And that's the problem because of finances. So I thought, okay, well, what about if we could set up effectively like a charity, but a CIC, which we've done. We've got the Community Interest Foundation, CIC, set up. So that's a community interest company kind of sits between a limited company and a charity. So it can fundraise like a charity, but it has the protection of a limited company. So we've set one up. We are now in the process of, we've got the bank accounts done, and we're now starting to fundraise for that. So go back just pre-tour, I had started working on a website called foodfindershub.org. And Food Finders was an opportunity for us to put search facilities together for countrywide, all the farmers, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, greengrocers, fishmongers, to advertise their wares online where the general public en masse could find them. And it's all free of charge to the farmer and the consumer. They advertise their opening times, what they do, put up pictures, whatever else, website links, phone numbers, everything goes on there free of charge. But the problem with free of charge is it needs to be paid for by somebody. So after I put in about £7,000, we've now transferred the ownership of the website into the CIC. So we're now fundraising to complete the website. So where we are on the website at the moment is the search facilities is all in place for the farmers to advertise to the public to search what they're looking for. We've set up a donation section on there where people can go and make a donation to assist us on the work. Within the next couple of months, we're going to the donation system will change, because what we're looking to do, and I just love this. This is just brilliant. I love little things that tickle me. So lots of the farmers, let's say, Mel, that a farmer wants to put some chickens on the farm and cannot afford physically to be able to. Let's say you want to put 500 chickens on a farm. It's probably going to cost you about £5,000 without the shed, without the food, without the fencing, just for the birds. So if a farmer wants to put an extra 500 chickens on the farm, how do they achieve that? So what we're going to do is we're going to set up people's opportunity to buy an animal or part of an animal that goes and lives on the farm. So they'll donate their money, and with their money they donate to, let's say someone puts in £10 and that buys a chicken. Every time we get 10 chickens, we'll put them on the site, on the farmer's side, to say that they're available for farmers to apply for. 10 people put in £15 each and there's £150 to buy a pig. We'll be able to say, okay, guys, there's a pig available for somebody. So we'll be able to, so if the public wants to support it and the public wants to keep animals on farms, then the public can help achieve that. That's all in the process of coming. And then we'll be able to start looking at things like, can we fund polytunnels, greenhouses, fencing, anything else what farmers need to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. So funding side is now on there. We've launched the donate £1 a month program this morning, where people can donate just £1 a month, and we can get enough people on there to put £1 a month in. Then fantastic.
And where's that?
That's on all the social medias this morning. I can certainly send you that to if you can add a link or something. But the donation page is on the foodfindershub.org, but that section won't go on there until tomorrow, when we are back on that. So that's all in play. Two other things we realised when we were going around the country. One was a lot of people want to volunteer, and directly or indirectly with us, I will say, but lots of people want to support the food industry and the changes what need to happen. So that might not be with us, but it might be if someone's got a community project in place and they're looking for support on the farm, and someone in that area is looking to do something, we can tee those up. So we've set up on the website a database which you can go on and register anywhere in the UK as a volunteer to either work on a community farm, help on social media, deliver flyers, deliver food boxes, get involved in your local food hub, help with admin, help with IT, help with legal, whatever it might be. Or if it doesn't fit in any of those, tell us in the others box what it is you want to do. Yeah. So that goes into a database, county by county. And then we're going to have county coordinators who will then work with the local projects to put the local volunteers together. Now, it might be, as I say, that might be that those projects are not physically ours. So just to give you an idea, we're working with the Good Food Project up in Scotland, who deliver, they do like an online supermarket for organic food all over the UK. And I will say, Mel, that I feel the importance is upon us more now than ever to start looking at organic chemical-free food, because the challenges with health in the country, obviously because of certain interventions that may have happened or may not have happened, there is a lot of people not feeling their best, and I think we need to start working on that detox inside. And for me, organic and chemical-free food is going to be essential moving forward. So, Good Food Project in Scotland, we've got Organity, which are based just outside London, delivering all over the London area, right up into the Midlands. But they do their slightly different because they work on food hubs. So, Good Food Project delivered to people's houses directly. The Organity system is they create a hub within, let's say, within a town, let's say Bedford, for instance, and they say, we've got 30 people who all want to buy vegetables, fruit and veg on the same day. The orders are picked, loaded onto a van, and they're all sent to a central point. That might be a church, community centre, someone's house, someone's business. All 30 people come together, pick up their order, have a cup of tea, slice of cake. Community, which is there, essentially, builds up that rapport. People can talk about their health, whatever it might be. So two slightly different options, but both coming at it from good quality organic food. On from that, we're then looking at the fact of, okay, if we've got home deliveries and we've got food hub deliveries, let's look at the farm shops. Let's look at the fact that we've got community stores. And we've actually got a company, a new media company that wants to fund people setting up community stores. So that, and again, is one of the other people we're going to be working with. So, and we're looking at farmers markets and how we as an organisation can help councils, assist councils in setting them up by getting all the different farmers and so forth together. So we've got the opportunities coming in and the volunteers registering for that. We had 28 register in the first 48 hours. So I think we're off to, bear in mind that knowledge is only now starting to get out there about the fact we're doing it. We now will take those volunteers and get them working all over the country. Now, we're also working with Crops Not Shops, which are a brilliant project, a growing project, and they're working as well with My Little Farm, and that's soon to become, I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's My Little Village that will turn into. And they're going to be launching those all over the country, those projects. So we'll be able to help and assist them in more stuff being produced. And what they overproduce will then end up in the food system for potentially Organity or Good Food Project. So any overproduction on the vegetables and so forth. So it's about bringing all these concepts and ideas together. So one of the problems that the general public said they had when we spoke to them was two major problems. One, they didn't know where to buy stuff from because, unfortunately, the farm shops only maybe supply, if they're a dairy farm, they might supply milk, butter, ice cream and, cheese and so forth, but nothing else.
Yeah.
Or if they're a vegetable farm, they only do vegetables, or, chicken farm, they do eggs. So we've been looking at on this tour how we can get people to take on other people's products locally and how they can also stock stuff out of the 3,000 items that the Good Food Project and Organity do. So there's lots of different options coming together. And I think, where I would say, Mel, people say, oh, Mark, people message me and say, oh, there isn't a farm shop in my area. And I say, give us a chance. They've had 100 years to break the system from what it was. We've had 1 year to try and put it right. Now, it's taken us a year, and I'll be the first one to accept, it's taken me a year especially, to get my head around how it all fitted together. Yeah. Because when we left, and even since we met up at WTF, we went off into Scotland and different opportunities what arose while we were in Scotland. And as we came back down, we've met different people, and we've, just on that journey, I think we met at the end of August, didn't we, last? And, you know, we're only now 2 months further on, and about 50 more opportunities arose in that time. So, but what we're seeing is that people want to come together. So we've had really good support from the new media, people like yourself that have got channels who are prepared to give us a voice. And I think that's, you know, that really shows where we are as, what word can I use? Freedom thinking people. If we use that, which to explain all of us across the country, we're starting to come together. We're starting to make sense of how all this nonsense is damaging the world we want to see. And we're starting to realise how we can use each other now to assist each other to put things back in a more, you know, correct position, let's say. So media's got involved from new media. The farmers are starting to come on board. And I say starting, they're not all there yet. And I won't, for any, you know, don't by any amount of imagination think they will either. Because I will say, Mel, and I said this on my tour, you know, I think in the next 5 years, we're going to lose 80% of our existing farmers.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
However,
sorry?
What makes you think that?
Just because of how things are stacked up against them. So at the moment, and I forecast this a year ago, so at the moment we've got TB, we've got bird flu, and we've got blue tongue, all alleged wild diseases that are rifling through the country at the moment, but always seem to find their way to the exact farm they need to, whether that's via a fly, a badger, or a PCR test, or it might be slightly flawed, for instance. So what we're seeing is the farmers are making the transition, but the ones what I think will be left in the 20% will grow a lot more food. And back to what I said to you earlier, you know, at the moment, Mel, farmers think they produce food, but what they actually produce is something to supply the foods, the supermarket supply chain with. So they produce wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize, and rapeseed, right? If you take those 6 items out of the equation of farming, most farmers don't grow a lot. And I hate to say this, you know, a lot of farmers, big farmers especially, have become very lazy because it's very easy to sit in a tractor and set large crops. So they've allowed themselves to be backed into a corner because 50 years ago, they started going down that road. They took massive subsidies for doing it. They've done very nicely out of it. And now the challenge is the subsidies are sliding away from them and they still want to continue down the same road, which isn't feasible. So, ton for ton, let's look at food. And if you grow one of the 6, wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, rape and maize, you as a farmer would probably lose £100 an acre. Okay, so you set all your fields, you get everything right, the weather's allowed to be nice to you, the price is right, and you lose £100 an acre. Now, we teach people how to grow vegetables to earn up to £30,000 an acre. So the problem is, if you grow one crop of wheat a year, for instance, you grow one crop a year and you lose your £100 an acre. There's nothing you can do about it. With growing vegetables, especially doing a lot of the stuff like we do by hand, you only want really small areas on a farm to grow massively intense amounts of vegetables. You make sure you've got good quality nutrition soil, lots of natural manure going into it, lots of wood chip to give it its organic matter, old wood chip, I will say, and that breaks the soil down and allows the mycelium to grow again. Because one of the problems we've got, Mel, is across the UK. I'll give you an example. When I was over on the uncle's farm, we were over there and we had our soil tested, right? And our soil came back to say that we'd got less than 5% life.
Wow.
Now, all the soil across the country, even in the Lincolnshire and that, where it's reclaimed land from the sea, where it used to be beautiful compost years ago, is starting to go back to clay because the farmers have not been putting anything natural into it. So the goodness has come out and it's gradually just sticking together. Well, the mycelium can't grow. Now, we need mycelium to grow because, for those who don't know, the mycelium is all the mushroomy stuff that grows about in the soil. Mycelium passes the nutrition to the root structure of the food. So if there is no mycelium, there is no nutrition in your food. So all we've ended up with is we chuck loads, as the farming industry, chuck loads of nitrogen on the ground. And as a result of that, we then end up with lots and lots of big produce, but it's got no goodness.
And how did the farmers respond when you're talking about that?
Now there lies an interesting question, Mel. Some of them don't want to hear what I've got to say. Some of them have taken it on board very well. The ones what have taken it on board are a lot of the ones what are already slightly on that transitional road. Those what are stuck in the main thick of growing what they always grow, they're the ones I don't think will be there because they don't see the requirement to change. They just think the system needs to change to suit them.
Yeah.
Well, with the best will in the world, everyone's been kicking up this last year about inheritance tax changing for farmers. Mel, with the best will in the world, it's just another thing to deal with. It's not the be all and end all. The problem farmers have with inheritance tax is they don't earn anything to pay it. If you continue to grow things what lose you £100 an acre, you're never going to have the money to be able to pay it. So therefore, produce something on the farm what earns you £20,000, £30,000 an acre. Then if you get a tax bill, you don't care. Yeah. And that's the problem we've got to. They've been ground into believing that the system owes them a living. It's a bit like paying people unemployment benefit. The minute you pay it, to the people who don't need it. I'm not saying that there isn't a requirement for some people, but if you get you create a lot of lazy people who then think the system owes them a living, and that's what we've got to break again. We weren't a country who thought like that 50 years ago. When we were kids, Mel, I don't know age you, I'm 57, but when we were kids and left school, we were told there's where the work is. Go do it. Now that's changed. So I think not only from the farming side and the public side, they've got to come together.
Yeah.
So if the public wants to get involved in the new food supply chain and be more, I think they want to be more accountable, and they want to see there's more accountability in the food supply. So they want to get involved. They want to volunteer in lots and lots of different things. Now, two of the things we've been looking at how we would help fund, because of the challenges farmers are facing. One, a lot of farmers are coming out of producing breeding animals and producing meat because there no longer is the amount of abattoirs in the country. They were deliberately bought up and they were deliberately closed down by a particular Microsoft person, let's say.
So the abattoirs have been closed down because of that numpty?
Yeah, so what they've done is they've very, very cleverly, you've got people like BlackRock, Vanguard, Backstreet, have invested into the big players like supermarkets, Sainsbury's, all the supermarkets. And once that investment's gone into place, they then want to protect that. So what they've done is between people like that and Bill Gates, George Soros, and Clinton Foundation, all these other people that are funding things in the background, have been going around buying up the small abattoirs and closing them and only leaving the big ones. So the small ones used to deal with people like me, what were taking 2 pigs and 2 sheep at a time. And, otherwise you've got commercial Chinese farms what are breeding pigs in the UK, and they're all going into very few factories now that only look after those people. So it's very difficult for small farmers now to get anything put through an abattoir. So what's the option? Well, we've been looking at the possibility of doing mobile abattoirs. So this would be kitted out slaughterhouses on the back of a 40-foot truck, which can roll onto a farm, deal with the process, leave that meat with the farmer, picked, packed, ready to go, and the farmer then just has it in his freezers and he's away and sticks it in the farm shop. So, and another challenge farmers are having, and one of the reasons that grain prices are so low and they lose £100 an acre, is because they're all growing the same stuff. They're all growing the same varieties of wheat. They're all using glyphosate to grow it, which is carcinogenic, and we all know the terrible side effects of it as a weed killer. the biggest thing, Mel, most people don't know this, but if you are allergic to gluten, the chances are you're actually not allergic to gluten. What you're actually allergic to is the protein change in the flour from adding glyphosate to the wheat. And it changes the protein, and that's what people are allergic to. So for me, I think if farmers want to put wheat in, they need to grow, I don't know, let's say 5 acres and mill it themselves. Have it milled by them and have it as organic as possibly possible. And then that way they could mill that. And again, if we had mobile processing systems that could go onto a farm, mill that wheat, roll that wheat, so they could have some for animal feed and some for flour, then that flour could be picked, packed, bagged, labelled, given to the farmer before they leave as a product they can sell at their farm shop.
Well, that sounds bloody wonderful.
Well, and it sounds like it used to happen 100 years ago. Most farms across the country, if you go back 200 years, had their own mill. So where did we end up in this position? Well, we know corporations have taken over and said to people, oh, don't worry, we'll do it cheaper for you. And they've played this long game, closing down all the abattoirs, closing down all the mills, closing down all the small greengrocers, butchers, bakers, everyone at all. So because of the abattoirs closing, that's also now starting to have the knock effect on with butchers, because butchers can't get the meat they need. So we need to be able to find a way to put the local supply chain back in. So at this point in time, back to the foodfinderhub.org, we have on there the facility to people to be able to donate, be able to volunteer, be able to search local food, okay? Another thing what people said they wanted, and this was one of the important things as we rolled forward, people want to know where land is available. Yeah. So we're setting up a database what will give farmers the opportunity to advertise land, what they want to either sell, lease, rent, and then we'll have a bank of options that are available to that farmer for each one of those.
Just remind me what the URL was. I'm just trying to get it up.
Foodfindershub.org.
Finders. I put farmers.
Foodfindershub.org.
I thought it'd be useful to share it on here just so people can see it.
Definitely, thank you. So, with the database being on there for the for land, then what we want people to be able to do, because there's lots of people at this point, like you and I, Mel, are both thinking, well, we need to get some land and get growing. But one of the biggest things that I found is it's a lie for people to think on themselves that they're going to do that. I've got to the age, I'm 57, I'm getting bloody tired after 7 months away. I'd come to the conclusion that I was very, very tired. So what I think we need to do is set up community farms. And for those who have got the money, they in turn buy the land and then set up a community project with the people around them who want to do it. And that might be that those people want to get involved in the running of, the management of, the growing, the breeding, whatever else. And you bring that local community together and you then take that, and people have tried this around the country, lots of working models of this, so we'll be able to advertise all that on the site. So what I'm hoping is as we roll forward, we get lots of volunteers and lots of land. And I'm pretty sure we're already heading on that road ourselves, that we're already looking at different parts of the country and already getting a really good response. So the next step for us is with the site finished, because we've got lots of work to do on the site. And I just talk about one other thing I saw on there. The ambassador side, what's on there, that will go live early part of next week. We trialled that last year, and within 1 month, we got 500 ambassadors. So ambassadors are people who want to assist us in promoting what the site does out to the general public, the farmers, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. So they're people who just have a common goal like myself to want to produce and grow the new food structure.
Yeah.
So as we're starting to build a plan here, and I said it's starting, and I will say we're not there yet because bear in mind it's only, you know, in its first year, but we're starting to get the right people coming to the table now, and we're starting to get the right people having those conversations with us about how we work together. And that's where the strength is in this, Mel. It's in everyone coming together. It is not about one person having control. They've tried that. You know, we've ended up with a chain of, you know, 5 major investment boards across the world, you know, investing in 5 major corporations across the world, which control everything. That isn't working. So let's not do it anymore. So for me, this is now about what do we want as the population of the country? What do we want our food system to look like? Well, for me, I want it to be local. I want it to be seasonal. I want it to be nutritional. And I want it to be there in the future. I want it to be stable. I want to know that if someone decides we're not going to have any food coming in the country, which if you look at the 2030 agenda, it clearly states we will not have any ships, planes, anything coming in the country. Well, that's 4 years away, and we don't have any way to feed ourselves. 28%, Mel, now we produce in the UK of our own food. So we've got an uphill struggle on this. The only way I can see that changing is if the public gets involved. Yes, the farmers can change tack, but the farmers need assistance. You know, if you look at the end of during the Second World War, what did they do? Dig for victory. Everyone grew. Every garden was full of food. Every roundabout, every bloody park space, everything was full of food. And we're going to have to decide soon what that next thing looks like. Now, what I would also, go on.
No, I was going to say, so in simple terms, I mean, we've just had a little quick look at the website there, and I know this is an evolving beast. So there's going to be more and more vendors coming on board. So in simple terms, right, where I live in Coventry, I've mentioned that most people know. I have, and I'm right on the edge. So I have a couple of farms, not that far away. One of them did have a farm shop, still has a butchery, but doesn't produce all of their own meat. Some of it comes in from somewhere else. But now they've just changed the whole place into a massive cafe, restaurant, and a wedding venue, which is really frustrating because they used to sell all the different bits that you were saying. You know, you want to go there and be able to pick up everything. And you also don't want to have to take out a second mortgage to pay for it, right?
Yep,
and that's the other problem with farm
yep.
shops. So then I found Wild Farm recently. You know, Wild Farm?
Yeah.
Online, yeah. And of course, that doesn't open until a Friday. And then you go on and you have a little search, but it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's quite pricey. Now we know that food has been undervalued for a long time.
Yes.
And we all have to adjust to that. I get that. But also everyone's feeling the pinch. So what are your thoughts? Well, firstly, if I went on, and Raw Milk's another one, I'd love to find somewhere closer than Lutterworth or where was the other place? Redditch. And it's not that easy to find because a lot of farmers, if they are doing it, they might not have an online presence or not a very good one,
Yeah.
you know, and all of that. So if I wanted to go onto your website and I wanted to get all of my meat, all of my veg, some raw milk, maybe some extra bits, how easy is it to do that at the moment?
At the moment, what I would say is, Mel, there's different people doing different things. So it depends if you want it off of one farmer.
Yeah.
Or if you want it, because let's say Organity, for instance, do exactly that. They bring in from lots of farms and then pick the orders and then deliver it out to people. Same as a Good Food Project do. So that's already available on there. What I would say on two of the points there, one, the price of food is an issue. Now, as we know, that the supermarkets have been paid and subsidised to subsidise the price of food to make farmers look bad on what they sell things at. That's been deliberately done. I'll give you a classic example. So if a supermarket takes somebody on a 0-hour contract, they're given £12,000 as a freebie from the government for employing that person, right?
Yeah.
I can't get that.
No.
You can't get that. Why should they get it? So they use the £12,000 to subsidise the cost of the stuff on the shelf. And that's what they do. Now, we've also got the other side that as more farmers come away from supplying the supermarket, the volume what's there will go across to the other side. And that will drop the price of food considerably. So at the moment, when you've got one farmer working on his own, and he knows what the value of food is because he's produced it. And if he decides that a litre of milk is £2.50, which is what most people are charging for raw milk, people say, yeah, but I can buy it for about 80 pence in supermarket, but you're not buying like for like. That's the problem. If you understand raw milk as a quality product and what it can achieve for your body, as opposed to buying white water, which is literally what the other one is, then you're not buying like for like. So people have got to understand what like for like looks like. And I think that's what the supermarkets have, in the last 10 years, have spent a lot of their time and energy in producing look-alike fake products. Now, I don't go in supermarkets, hate the damn places, won't entertain them. But Gloria went in the other day to try and buy some almond nuts. We normally have a health food shop where we get them from. They hadn't got any. And I said, we just have to dive into Sainsbury's round the corner. And she went in, she came out, she said, you know, you keep talking about food shortages, but they've got loads of stuff in there. I said, have they? I said, do me a favour, walk back in and have another look at what food is in the store. What food? What real food? And she came out and she said, I see your point. She said, the shop's full of stuff, but it's all processed. There's nothing anymore. So you go down the fruit and veg section, it's covered in a peel and all sorts of other nasties to make sure it lasts. The meat counter is full of bloody salt water. All the meat's pumped full of water to bring the weight up, to bring the value down. You know, everything you go and look at in there. And the one what makes my day when I walk in the supermarket is when you walk down the aisle and it says healthy food section. Yeah. Well, if that's the healthy food section and 100% of it's processed, what's the rest of the shop got in it? Unhealthy stuff. You know, we know that there's been lots of stuff in the news locally and nationally over the last few weeks about energy bars and these healthy bars and things. And they're a classic example. They're no more healthy than nothing. You know, so I think one of the things which I think, again, with the CIC, what we will do through the site is set up an education side, because that education, I think, will stand on lots of grounds. Education on how to perhaps grow food, what's the value of food, coming back to your point about the value of food. You know, if people actually got involved in growing food again, they would see why a farmer wants the amount of money he wants for it. Because if you've taken a cauliflower and nurtured it and you get it right to the point it's ready to pick, and then slugs have it overnight because they thought that was funny, then people would go, yeah, but I wanted to eat that. Yeah, but that's why a farmer needs to grow 10 to perhaps get free what he can sell. That's why the cost needs to be where it is. See, supermarkets, and this is, again, Mel, what people don't know about the system. I was in Brewer Road down near Cornwall, and we visited an absolutely lovely farmer and his wife, and they've got a 3,000-acre farm, and they rented out part of the farm to a young guy who grows cauliflowers for Tesco's. Was that Tesco's? No, sorry, no, for the supermarket supply chain. It wasn't Tesco's, that one. And one of the things he was saying is, because there was cauliflowers, well, I said, when are you going to pick these? He said, oh, no, they're all the ones they rejected. So what do you mean? He said, well, they weren't big enough. So normally anyone with any sense would walk through the field, cut the big ones, take those off the field, go back and cut the big ones the next week and just keep going until they've all gone. Oh, no, supermarkets don't work like that. They do one cut. So they'll go into a field, take the ones that are exactly the size they want and plough the rest in. And that's the insanity we're up against. And that's why food prices, Mel, are going up and up and up and up. Because the farmers have now got so much waste, they're having to push that price through. And as a result of that, the supermarkets push their prices and profits up. So what we need is more sensibility, transparency and honesty in the food system, more than anything.
See, this is the thing, we all think we have an idea that the corporations, the supermarkets, oh, they're all money grabbing bastards and they've been screwing the farmers for years and this, that, and the other. And, you know, that's certainly been a belief I've held. And I know that is true to a point. And then you hear something like that where they, you know, and they are systematically making that problem bigger and bigger and bigger by doing stuff like that. When there's people that can't even feed their freaking families,
Yeah.
why not have somebody else come in and take those little cauliflowers and do something else with them?
They're not allowed. The farmers are not allowed to do that. So here's the problem, Mel. Most people don't know or understand this section of farming now. Lots of farmers don't own the crop or the animal. So lots of farms now offer a service called bed and breakfast. They house the animal, they feed it, and when it's ready to go to slaughter, it goes off, and that's the bit they do.
Wow.
They're not, so on a pig farm, for instance, they have the piglets come in, they feed them, they breed them, they rear them, and then when they're big enough, they disappear off the farm. They don't belong to that farmer. He's just paid a commercial price to do that bit. So the animals don't belong to the farmers. So and the same thing for the cauliflowers. Let's say that field belongs to Tesco's, for instance. That field of cauliflowers belongs to Tesco's. Tesco's come in and say, right, we want them all at a 10 gauge, and the farmer goes along with a 10 gauge ring, puts it over the cauliflower. If it fits the right size, they cut it. If it doesn't, they leave it. Tesco's then say, plough the rest in.
Wow.
And that's what's wrong with the system. We've not got any sensibility at all in the fucking food system. It's just destroyed. It's just crazy.
It's absolute lunacy. But we know why. You said it's 4 years away. That sounds very scary, doesn't it? Because, the last 5 years have gone like that.
Absolutely.
And so the next 5 years are going to go like that.
Yeah. Now, absolutely. Now, one of the challenges we've also got on the farming side is that our beloved, friend from Microsoft again, he's been heavily investing in GMO food and GMO seed. He's bought up loads and loads of seed companies across the world that did good quality heritage organic seeds and shut them down. Just got rid of them overnight. So all the seed now is being treated. It's all GMO seeds. So we've now got a problem where, and there is, don't get me wrong, there's still some really good seed companies out there. But we are at the point at the moment that if people don't start buying seeds and stockpiling them, they won't be able to buy those heritage seeds in the future.
So can you stockpile? Because I thought, when you buy seeds from the garden centre or wherever,
they've got a date on them.
They've got a date on them.
Mel, when you was a kid, did you believe the packet or did you smell it when you opened it? And if it smelled good, you'd eat it, and if it didn't smell good, you chuck it away.
Yeah. And I'm a big advocate for that. But because I've got no knowledge about seeds, other than I do grow a few things in my garden. Some things fail, some things are okay. Apparently courgettes are really easy, but not in my bloody garden. And also, it wouldn't keep me alive. Do you know what I mean? The section that I've got. So,
yeah. So with seeds, what you have to understand is that for years they've been messed about with. And if you buy seeds from a supermarket, they are designed, they're F1, they'll have F1 stamped on the packet somewhere. So they're already GMO seed.
Right.
So the seed, what comes from that, so let's say you grow a courgette in the garden, you think, wow, I've got this beautiful courgette and I've got loads of seed in it, and you save the seed will either do one of two things next year. It will either give you marrows, pumpkins, or butternut squash, depending on what seed it was crossed with in the first place, right? Or it just won't germinate.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we've got. So lots of the seed just won't regerminate. It's been programmed not to regerminate. In its DNA, it's now told, do not regerminate. So they've taken away nature. That's a dangerous place for us to be, Mel. If ever there was a place, of danger now, we can all kick off about all the things we don't like, what's going on in the country or around the world at the moment. But food is the one thing, if you really want to entertain the country's population into not rising up, they need food.
Yeah.
And where we're heading is a non-food producing place.
The trouble is, though, as you well know, the people that are still piling into the supermarkets, they are usually part of the rat race,
Yeah,
either have a high flying career or are holding down three jobs just so they can feed the family and all of
yeah.
that sort of stuff, haven't got the capacity to even think about it. Go into a cheap supermarket and think, right, okay, well, I've got 50 quid this week. I'll get this, this, and this, blah, blah, blah. It's all very easy. It's all very convenient. Don't have to think about it. Some people have it delivered to their house, even fucking easier.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that? I mean, I know it's like anything, isn't it? The awareness is growing, the consciousness is growing, and I can see that myself. But when you're more and more people are waking up, but it seems, and also we know the theatrics of what's going on. Like, okay, so inheritance tax became this big focus, whereas actually they should be focusing on something way bigger than that.
Absolutely.
And now it's the immigration and all of that, which is taking a lot of people's energies. And we're saying, okay, well, maybe that's a good thing because it's waking up a certain section of people to think, hang on a minute, our government doesn't love us, and they're not looking after us. So I don't really know what my question is. I sort of talked around in a circle there, but I suppose from your perspective, it is quite a challenge because you said if we don't have food, we ain't going to survive. Well, people see that we do have food and it's all got cling film on the shelves in the fridges. So,
But is it food, Mel? This is the
no, I know
challenge.
this is the
Now,
thing, isn't it?
and you say people say to me, I can't afford to buy organic food. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I live on meat, vegetables, dairy, eggs. That's my diet. More, 90% of that, maybe rice and grains, but that's predominantly my diet. I don't spend money on biscuits, chocolate bars, fizzy drinks, energy drinks. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do vapes. I prioritize myself that my food is my priority.
Yeah.
Now, all right, everybody doesn't want to do that. And I love a pack of crisps and I love a bar of chocolate, but I limit what I have. When I talk to some of my friends, a classic example, and this is where we are as a society. I went into a shop to deliver some vegetables. And when I went in, a lad what I grew up with from when we were in nappies was in there. And I said, oh, morning, fella, how you doing? He said, yeah, really good, mate. And he stood at the counter, 2 cans of Red Bull, 20 cigarettes, 2 chocolate bars, pack of crisps, and a vape, right? And I said, oh, you're all sorted then? And he went, yeah, got everything I need to get me going today, right? He goes in there 5 mornings a week. And this guy's in the building trade, got a very energetic job, right? He's in there spending that every morning. I don't know what that costs, 30, 40 pound a morning, right? His wife put on social media, we can't afford to feed the children.
Wow.
Where is the back in priorities? And this is what we're up against. And people say, I've got a limited budget of £50 a week. Well, I can live on £50 a week. I can live on, a lot less than that if I just concentrate on good quality food.
Yeah.
So I think what people have got to look at is their priorities, Mel, have got to, everyone, oh, well, I've got to have the new iPhone, it's only £1,600. Okay, why? Well, is your other one not working? It works fine, but I need the new upgrade, I need to get that new handbag, that new pair of shoes, that new, whatever it might be. We just live in this bullshit world where we assume, and don't melt. I'm the first one, probably like yourself. We were all in it.
Yeah.
And when I was married, I was, wife, the 4 kids at home, got to have the 4-bedroom house, got to have 2 cars on the drive, got to have the kids at this school, and all the things what were going on. And then you step out of it. And I remember being at Glastonbury. We were down at Crops Not Shops doing a festival this year. And bear in mind, we've got a camper van, which cost us £1,200. It's, a 40-year-old VW camper van, tiny little thing. And we were at Glastonbury. And I remember laying there. We was on top of a hill, laying in the van. We've got 3 crates of food under the bed, tin food, what we'd got with us in case of emergency. We've got some, some fresh stuff and so forth. I'd got £27 in the bank and £3.50 in my pocket. And I remember looking at Gloria and I go, do you know what? I've never felt so fucking happy in all my life. I've never felt that I had so much when I had so literally little, and I think that's where people have now got to make those decisions. All this materialistic nonsense, what we put up with, do we really need it? What do we really need? A roof over our head and food in our belly. That's what we really need.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, the last 100 years we've been pushed with all this television. Is just pushed commercialism down our throat. Every set of adverts, the new coat, the new handbag, the new car, the new phone, the new, got to have item in the house, whatever it was. So, yeah, I think we've got to start prioritising again as a nation, and not just a nation, as a world, but, they need us to buy into that, don't they? Because that's what feeds their lifestyle.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So,
I mean, I always go back to the Hallmark cards. I mean, Jesus Christ, what an amazing business model that is, because now you've got Girlfriend's Day, Boyfriend's Day, Grandmother's, it's endless.
I just send them a text.
Okay, so what I did want to ask you at the beginning, actually, but obviously the message today is important about what you're focusing on, how you're going to grow that, improve that, how people can start getting access to real food and education, which is definitely something that really interests me because, I've grown a bit of food in the garden, not very well sometimes, and I know it's not going to keep me alive, but it's something I want to do more of. But then I'm up against it time-wise, and like you, got not a lot in the bank, and trying to figure it all out whilst protecting my home and trying to fight off the corruption and all of that sort of stuff. And so that's a different way of having no bandwidth to really focus on being Felicity Kendall, because that's what I want to be. And have some lovely land somewhere. So when you were talking earlier about farmers having like a community or renting some of their land and this, that and the other, I was thinking, God, that sounds perfect. We need to know who's up for that kind of thing and make it work for everybody, because people like us that actually want to live healthily, eat fruit and veg that don't have chemicals on, give back to the land. I've just been on a retreat, and a spiritual retreat, and one of the girls there, she's very ethereal, she's definitely from Palladian or somewhere like that. And she was saying she was getting these messages that the trees they desperately need our help. They desperately need our help because it's just take from the land, take. So just one of the little things we did when we were there was to go out and we put some crystals in the land and went and hugged a few trees. And it was so powerful. You could really feel it, I could. Got me very emotional. And I think, again, I'm sort of talking around in circles, but I'm sort of thinking as I'm talking, I think the people like us that have been banging the drum for the last few years about what's going on, because I don't know when you woke up. For me, I was always different, but 2020 was an explosion.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and we were the crazy ones. Now people are looking at us thinking, oh, maybe they had a point about this and maybe they had a point about that. They've still got resistance about the other bloody stuff there. It's like, can you not see a pattern here? But anyway, that's another conversation.
They can't see.
No, but the more, I suppose, people like us actually get on and do now and collaborate, then it can only get bigger and it can only ripple out, and other people then get that courage and that motivation to join in.
Yeah, I think, Mel, you're right there, because as I said earlier, when I left home with the doom and gloom of what's going on, and then started to see all these great farmers what were doing different things, really brilliant initiatives, and especially in one of the challenges that I find as a grower is soil is dead. So how do you put that back? And crystals obviously is a huge thing, and as I've travelled around the country, I've met people who are doing the biodynamic side, aquaponics, the permaculture, the forest foods, just so many different options which people are coming together with. And we went to visit different composting companies, and this one blew my head, right? They've got a 5,000 acre farm, so big farm, and realizing that growing wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize and rape doesn't earn any money, they decided they'd try something different. So they've got some wetlands on their farm. They planted loads of willow. They took The old straw bales what didn't go to the incinerator to be burnt. They took them and put them on an old runway on the farm. They covered them in the willow, or the leaf, the willow branches, and put all the grass what's grown on the farm, what they are paid to grow, lays grass, because it sucks up carbon, and they cut that, 2 or 3 times a year, and they add that to this, and they make a compost out of it. So it's all it's got in it is straw, willow, and the you end up with this brilliant product.
Wow.
And it's a peat-free compost, and it's 7 times more profitable per acre than growing food.
Wow.
What's the farmer going to produce in the next few years? Just concentrate on compost.
Yeah.
And that's just made from grass, willow, and straw. That means that's duplicatable across the country. Now, one of the problems we've got at the minute, we're not producing enough compost to put onto fields. And the best way to achieve that is more animals, which comes back to the beginning of what I was saying about the farmers and want to make the transition to come away from chemical farming. Okay, if the WEF wants us to get rid of all the animals and DEFRA's pushing that agenda through, we're not allowed to have any chemicals and we're not going to have any manure. Someone kind of work out the pattern here. There won't be any food.
Yeah.
So by bringing everybody together and everybody waking up slowly, we're bringing together, from where I'm sat, the public, the farmers, new media, and with everybody working together, we can just start to build this platform. And I've got no doubt at all with, bear in mind that I've got banks of volunteers now across the country working on different projects. Where it was just, this crazy guy in a bowler hat going around talking around the country. I've met these brilliant people while we've been away, and I've now got my own PA. Just to give you an idea, I've got a volunteer PA. She's brilliant. Sarah's just fantastic. I just send her an idea, and she's like, boom, boom, boom. I've got another friend who does all the adverts for social media. I've got another one who puts the videos together. Another one who's building the website. So suddenly, all these people wanting to just work on a project. That's where we need to, encourage more and more people across the country, Mel, to get involved, because that's what's going to give us our strength in the future. At the minute, the way I see this, Mel, is the old system's collapsing, right? We know that. And whatever people think doesn't matter. It's happening. If you look at the Romans, the Greeks, the Athenians, whoever, empires go up and empires come down. Now, it's already gone over the edge. It's sliding down the other side. When it hits the bottom, one of two things will happen. They'll install their new system or we'll install ours.
Mm.
So my reckoning is we all need to come together and make sure we install our new system, especially around the food, what is good for the public and good for the farmer and good for the land, So, and I think, new media, I think from where we sit now against how newspapers were, we're probably, if you think where you are with your media channel, there was probably 1,000 newspapers in Great Britain, if you go back 100 years, and that's been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed until there's only a few controlling it. And that's exactly where we are now with new media. We're back at having tens of thousands of people with a voice, and that has got power behind it. If we can only get people to realise that power is in their hands. Yeah. So that, for me, is where kind of we all fit together and, where we bring this to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think another important message on that, this comes from myself, comes from other people that I've been in this sort of circle, if you like, with. People are exhausted right now. Absolutely exhausted, and the intensity of the pushback against people that are trying to create better in the world has intensified over the last few weeks, really.
Very much
to the point where we're seeing some real horror stories, but within that there is still like this growing
insurgents.
There is. And then there's, like when Steve Forsyth was on, he was talking about, it didn't happen here, but then I think when he was at a particular, I don't know whether it was a house eviction or a take back, and he was talking to the sergeant that was there and the locksmith, they both in the end said, yeah, we know this is fraud. Yeah. And you don't get that very often in those sorts of situations, but that is happening.
Yeah.
And some of them are watching, obviously, Bannerman's videos and things like that, and are rooting for people. Like Mikey P, for example, was
Yeah.
one that got mentioned. So it is only a matter of time. I suppose what I wanted to put across to everybody that's watching, that's feeling exhausted right now, including yourself, is as much as, and we will get empowered by these collaborations.
Yeah.
It's inevitable,
Yeah.
but also make sure you're doing that self care. So that spiritual retreat I've just been on, I was thinking to myself, I can't go, I can't leave my house. Anyway, I did enough to know that I could leave my house, and there was protection here as well. So and it was so needed. It was so needed. So I just want to say that to everybody that's watching and to yourself. Make sure you're nourishing,
Yeah.
because you can't keep giving, and not taking a little bit back for yourself, because you'll just burn out.
Yeah. Mel, I'll tell you one thing, before we finish this, I'll tell you something. When we left home, I left home genuinely believing we lived in a real country. And, everyone's disjointed and everyone's, just hates everybody. And do you know what? And coming from a village where you know everybody, it's really easy to think, oh, but if I step outside the Shire, you know, um, we travelled for 7 months. As I said, we did 10,000 miles. We were away, we spoke to 20,000 people. We had 109 talks. We did festivals and all sorts of things. We was in people's houses one day, sleeping in a bed and breakfast the next, all at other people's expense. We never had not 1 minute of that 7 months where we didn't feel wanted, loved, cared for. There was not 1 minute. So that says to me, we actually live in an absolutely beautiful country, and we've been led to believe it's shite because of all the crap what's put about on social media and on the mainstream media. And what we've actually got to do is step outside the door, talk to our neighbours, do nice things for people, and the world will be a better bloody place.
Totally. Well, that's a beautiful way to finish. Just to remind everybody, the website is
Foodfindershub.org.
cool. And they can follow you on your socials, right? What is it? Just the Bowler Hat Farmer?
Yeah, the Bowler Hat Farmer on, I think, every platform, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know we've got TikTok, Facebook, we've got big presence on Facebook, we've got YouTube, we've got Instagram. I think we've got other things, but I don't. I tend not to. Gloria does a lot of that. Now, here's a mistake. If you're going to go on tour, know before you leave what your objectives are, because we found our objectives when we got home, right? So after the tour, I've given Gloria permission to be an admin on my YouTube to post stuff, which would have made a lot more sense at the beginning, because then it would have given us a lot more content. But there we go. So these are the things we have to work through.
No, I know. It's all a learning curve, and when you're thick in it, it's hard to remember everything anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wonderful. I'm gonna certainly be bookmarking that to my favorites and start exploring that a lot more. I think people watching this, if they're anything like me, will be, oh wow, this sounds amazing. This sounds amazing. How do I sort of get going? Well, you get going by looking at the website and just finding more farmers in your area, hopefully, or ways to get it delivered, or whatever it might be. But if you could give people one little action that they can take right now, what would it be?
Go sign up as a volunteer. Simple as that. Get involved. That's the biggest thing. Yes, it'd be lovely if everyone went and made a donation. Of course, it'd be great if we could do more stuff, but let's get people involved. County by county, let's take back control of our food supply. Simple as that. And that might, if we get a load of farmers in an area, we produce leaflets. We need people to put the leaflets out. We need people to tell people on social media about what we're doing, how we're doing things, where the money's going. This is about us collectively doing things. Simple as that.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thank you again, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm sure we'll be doing another one in the future as things grow and more things come on board for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mel. It's been a brilliant day. Thank you.
And thank you for everything you've done, by the way, up to this point. Like you're pretty relentless. So thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.